Okay, Alex, do you want to tell me a few of the projects that you built over the years?
Yeah, so I started off when I was younger doing a lot of woodwork. So that was things like building desks and cabinets and stuff. I really enjoyed doing that as a kid because it's kind of like building stuff and getting your hands in there. And I kind of, after that, I diverted towards more electronics. So that was more things like one of the first circuits I built was an auto clicker for a mouse. So I could play games and it would click itself. But this wasn't just software, this was hardwired and a board I created myself, PCB, using capacitors that would click the button electronically, and it was wired onto the mouse. Some of the stuff I did was did a 4-bit calculator using transistors. That was quite a big task because that was a lot of transistors on a massive breadboard. And what that would do is add up numbers 1 to 16 together. So it was very rudimentary, didn't really do much, but it was fun to build. And then lately I've been pushing myself a bit more with what I've done with my degree and what I did with my EPQ and A levels, such as EPQ. I built a Tesla coil. So I don't know if anyone's seen a Tesla coil. It's like a big tube that shoots off sparks. My prototype was dead small. That works perfectly. That was sort of created 2-inch sparks. And then I decided to up it and do one off of mains electricity. But that's dead dangerous. That's sort of like 340 degrees DC. And if I touched that, I would probably end up killing myself. So there's some kind of dangerous stuff I've done with not much professional training. Other things like for my uni degree last year, we built a garbage disposal robot, just a miniature prototype. But that had things like, it was all Arduino, so it's all microcontrollers. So it would go around a track, pick up rubbish, and then put it in the right bin. So that had things such as line following, object detection. It had Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, so it connected up to an API, so it updated the database with what it was doing. And Bluetooth, you could whack a controller on it and move it with the controller. So that was quite a big project. Yeah, I think that's it in terms of the major ones.
You've really improved over the years, starting with woodwork and then moving to small electronics and then eventually Tesla coils and garbage disposal robots. But
Yeah.
what I'm quite interested in is what were you using to teach yourself all this stuff? Because obviously the jump from woodwork to the 4-bit calculator, you weren't learning that in school.
Yeah, so a lot of the early learning was done through like little kits you get. You can get little electronics kits that'll tell you how to do little parts. And you sort of build it up over time. But if you want to do something specific that's your own thing, such as what I did with the auto clicker, that was more figuring out, watching videos on similar things and then trying to change it to work with what you're doing. So I think the circuit I based it on was an LED flasher. So it would flick on and off an LED. And I converted that into a mouse clicker. So it would, instead of flicking the LED, it would click the button, if you see what I mean. So it was more all individual research online, things like YouTube, a lot of coding forums that are really useful, and project forums. There's so much resources online. You can kind of do anything. And then more recently, ChatGPT is very good, as long as you know when to spot when it's wrong or how you've got the expertise to fix it, because it's never perfect. It's never perfect, but it always gives you a good baseline to work off of.
Yeah, I use ChatGPT more for workflows. So it gives me the
Yeah.
general idea of how something should work, and you'd go off and figure that stuff out. Were you allowed to use that in your uni degree when you're building the rubbish robot?
Yeah. So at the moment, it's kind of like a grey area because obviously they don't really know what they're doing with it. So for things like essays, you can't obviously get it to write your essay at uni. So they're quite strict on that. But you can use it in ways which are sort of as if you're researching. If I give an example, like when I have an essay at uni, I'll ask ChatGPT to mark it for me and tell me what's wrong with it. And that works really well because it's not the ChatGPT writing it for me.
Yeah. I was wondering if you could, have you heard of vibe coding?
No?
So this
Like
is basically where there's no real code coming from you. You're kind of putting your ideas together using an AI and it builds you the code. A lot of the times it's seen as quite junky, but kind of gets the job done. I was wondering if you're allowed to use that for your Arduino.
Yes, there's nothing like that allowed because the idea is everything written and submitted is written by you. But I think they don't have any proper rules on it yet. So if you're using it as like a as like a feed input to what you've done already, that's probably the furthest you can ever go with it.
Yeah. Do you think you would use an AI to code something going forward?
It's definitely getting better and better, I've noticed. I'd never trust it completely. I'd never get it to write something and then instantly push that to everyone, because you don't know how it's going to act. If anyone's got an issue, you have no idea how to solve that issue because you've not written the code.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's strict testing involved. But if you can take that code, understand it, and not even change it, it could be perfect, but understand it and test it thoroughly, then I don't see a problem with it personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
probably would use it.
Good. Another question that I had for you is, so you've obviously learned different skills when building these different projects. So you've done a bit of woodwork, you've done a bit of Arduino, you've done a bit of soldering, coding, actual model building. Do you find that these skills translate to the different projects, or for the most part, are you learning a new skill every time you start something new?
I'd say you're definitely learning something new most times you do it, but it's more about learning how to learn. So it's finding every time you do look up something and figure out how to do it, you find a new way to figure out other things.
Yeah, so these different forms that you're finding, you tend to go back to them.
Yeah, yeah. See, I always had a little bit of a philosophy because I learned piano a couple of years ago, where anyone can play anything, but it might take you 10 years to learn this one piece, whereas someone who's a trained pianist, it would take them 10 minutes. So by becoming better at something, you're never actually better at it. You're just quicker at learning how to do it.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. I like that. Yeah, I don't think school teaches you really how to look at different areas and like join them together. It's either maths or it's physics or it's English. But what you're doing is kind of combining everything together. And I think that's a really important skill that
Yeah,
school
well,
doesn't teach.
school's got a big issue where everything you learn in school is a textbook or an exam curriculum. So why would you ever look anywhere else? Because there's never going to be anything else on the test. If you can see what I'm saying, like they've written out everything that's going to be on this test. Why would you look somewhere else for the information? And I think that's probably the biggest skill that doing your own projects teaches you.
I was listening to a podcast the other day and it was about they were talking about this new school that's coming out, and it's basically one-on-one tutoring. So you learn everything that you need to learn on the syllabus, but that only takes you about 2 hours for the day. And then the rest of the day, they're doing real world things like starting businesses. They even managed to get these second graders to run a 5K in under 30 minutes. They were kind of just blowing away the people that run schools because schools didn't believe that the kids could do these things.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think school is terrible in the way it works, but it doesn't push anyone beyond what it's meant to. It has a standard, which is honestly quite average given current people, but is honestly quite, and it pushes for the standard as in like the average. Whereas if you want to be above that, you've got to learn outside of school, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, but that's what school was designed to do. It was designed to increase the general level of intelligence.
Yeah, and it
So
has done.
if you look at it that way, it is
It's
doing
done a
its
quite a
job.
good job of them. Yeah, but you look back and you think about all these innovators, you could call them, and they're all educated in school, but they had external teaching or external stuff they were working on top of that. I think as a baseline it does work, but it will never push you further than that.
Okay, we've spoken a little bit about school. I also want to ask you if there's any projects that you've kind of started to work on, but you weren't able to figure out.
Yeah, so I mentioned before about the Tesla coil that I was building. That was obviously for my EPQ in A level. I did the prototype. Prototype worked perfectly, and I showed it, had videos for it. And then the final one, I just ran out of time.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not very fair then, because I think you would have got it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I built it all, and I was just troubleshooting. I figured out the issue a year later, and I've still not finished it, just because I had that pressure on me, as it was, because it was an assignment, obviously, to work on it all day, every day. And as soon as the submission went through and I hadn't finished it, it was kind of like, well, what's the point now?
Yeah, that's fair.
So that pressure was definitely nice to have, but it was very underwhelming to not finish it.
Yeah. There was one more project that I don't think you've mentioned yet, and that was the drone that you tried to build. So I remember you got the base,
But yeah,
but I can't remember if it flew or not.
It did fly, but it flew about an inch off the ground.
Was it stable?
Basically, it was stable. This is kind of pre 3D printing when it became very commercial. I didn't have a 3D. The 3D printers were sort of like $2,000. I wasn't getting one myself. And so I built it out of MDF and thinned it out as much as I could without snapping it. And it was just too heavy, basically. And that was an issue with money because I couldn't afford better motors or a 3D printer. But I went for it anyway. But yeah, I got it an inch off the ground and I was very happy with that.
Still quite impressive. You managed to get all the motors to sync in time with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we've spoken about some projects that you've not quite managed to get. There are some big projects kind of on the horizon, not specifically something that you would do or anyone that we know would do, but if you can think of certain things, if someone figures out how to build, they'll become the next billionaire. Can you think of any ideas?
Yeah. So the thing is with most projects now is that if you look at like CPUs or space missions and fusion, I think they're probably the three biggest things that are happening at the moment. You've got all the GPU race with NVIDIA pushing for AI chips. And then you've got SpaceX looking to mine meteors, which is another massive one. And then you've got fusion energy. If anyone got one of them three, they'd instantly become a billionaire. Like an AI chip that can run fuel efficiency and it can run an AI model on its own. It's just instant mass money. The problem with these projects is they take teams of hundreds, sometimes thousands, because there's so many components. A physical person can't keep that in their head.
There's been a big leap in quantum computing recently. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
I wonder if that could be used for the AI chips.
It can be, but quantum computing is quite funny. Whereas it's not as powerful as people make it out to be, but suddenly it's being more powerful and mathematically possible. We're at a weird point where it's kind of becoming super powerful and way more powerful than we ever thought it would.
But you just contradicted yourself there a little bit. You just said it's not actually that powerful as people are saying.
Yeah. See, this is the thing. So there was a big hype about the whole thing, and it was worked out mathematically that, let's say, you got a big thing with it can crack identification numbers for Bitcoin wallets, for example. You can steal everyone's Bitcoin. In reality, it's only about 30% faster than conventional computing for things like that. But then there's specific problems. I think Google had a big one lately where they managed to solve a problem in a few hours, which would have taken a few trillion years for a conventional computer. And they're debating whether it was working in multiple dimensions on the same problem. And this is where it gets a bit weird because it's worked out much faster than anyone thought mathematically possible. So that's quite a big industry to get. Currently, it's a big industry.
Yeah.
Definitely.
There are just so many giants in all these industries. Like you've got Tesla, NVIDIA. I don't know who the giant is in fusion reaction. I'm guessing there is one.
It's more like, yeah, there will be a big one, but I think it's more like research based at the moment. So it's more science funded and stuff like that. China's obviously all state funded and they're very high up in fusion there.
Yeah. Another one that I like to think about is teleportation, because there's a few ways that it could be done. We're just nowhere near actually being able to do it yet. Have you ever think about the different ways it could be done? So I've got a few that I can give to you.
You got the idea that you can't send mass at the speed of light, but you can send data at the speed of light. So there's one idea where they copy you completely, reconstruct you somewhere else, then kill the original. So it's like effectively teleportation, but not really.
That's one way.
Yeah, I think that's the most realistic way that it could happen. And we can technically already do it, but it's obviously, until you can move a human perfectly, there's no actual benefit to it.
Do you want to know something that I saw quite recently that takes that, but it blows up a little bit? So it was found that tardigrades can survive quantum entanglement. So that's something that's living, surviving and not affecting quantum entanglement. And if you've got that, you can then send data faster than the speed of light.
Yeah. The tardigrades are the little insects that live in your skin, aren't they? The minuscule ones. Yeah.
They're the ones that you can just survive anywhere.
Well, they can survive anything, can't they?
But what was interesting is that it was supposed that no living thing can be subjected to quantum entanglement because it destroys the actual process.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really interesting.
I think just as living organisms are just so complicated, there's no way to copy us in a perfect manner. You definitely come out a little bit weird.
Yeah. I know you don't believe in a soul, but I do. And I wonder where your soul goes if you are destroyed and rebuilt somewhere else.
Well, I think that's more of a ethical thing. I think that would probably be a debate in a couple hundred years, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
So
know the efficacy of teleportation.
well, you can do this without talking about ethics. So if we look at the commercial possibilities for teleportation, one that kind of stuck with me was waste removal. So imagine you've got waste. We fill up these landfills. You could teleport that somewhere off this planet, somewhere else. I know there's a little bit of ethics in there, but it's not to do with any humans. I think that's a massive opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. Considering the amount of energy it requires to put things into space. The other problem is that we should really be using the waste as well,
Yeah, that's true.
because we are running out of stuff in the world.
Well, if you got teleportation as well, you probably don't use as much waste because a lot of food is packaged. A lot to do with transportation actually ends up in landfill sites.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I think teleporting minerals from asteroids would be a big one.
yeah, no, that's a good one. So we've spoken about a few next big things, but what's your next big thing?
Mine, I guess it's just keep working on what I'm working on, because I'm final year university. I start on Monday next week. I've obviously got a big dissertation coming up for that, and I'm keeping my projects quite small at the moment. I want to make a analog second order differential equation solver. That's my plan for final year university. It's a bit out of my comfort zone because it's more analog electronics, which is something I've not touched as much as microcontrollers, for example. So I'm trying to push myself a bit there. And it's also just something I thought it's a bit useless, but it'd be interesting to see if it can be done.
I was going to ask this: is this a project that you've set out to do because it's challenging, or because it solves an actual problem for you? But it sounds like it's just because it's a challenge.
Well, it would have an actual application in the sense where it would be a perfect, if it worked well, it would be perfect for analog second order differential equation solving. But there's not that many times where that's actually useful. I've more done it because I actually want to see if I can do it, and it's a challenge.
That is good. So you're in your final year of uni now. What is it that you're studying? Tell me a little bit about it.
I'm studying electronic and electrical engineering. So it ranges from small electronics to power lines and working out power networks. But I'm more into the small electronic side of things.
You like the small little gadget.
Yeah, building little gadgets and stuff like that. I had the idea of building a little screens for your computer that do a specific thing. I don't know, like music, temperature, kind of doohickey things, if you see what I mean. Little fun things that solve small problems.
Yeah. I haven't
I
found a
enjoy doing.
solution yet that kind of puts everything to do in your household onto one app or one product. I know people have tried Google Home. I think Alexa might do something.
Yeah, so you've got I forgot what it's called now. Home Assistant.
Yeah.
It's like a not run by a big company, kind of can connect everything in your house, but it's just a bit janky. And you've also got the issue where if all these things are connected to your Wi-Fi network becomes clogged up, and then the Wi-Fi is rubbish. So there's not a good way of doing it yet.
Yeah, I haven't found an elegant solution to that.
I think at the moment the solution is just to improve Wi-Fi and make it much more powerful. I don't know if you've noticed, Wi-Fi's got way better in the last 10 years.
I don't use Wi-Fi, so
Neither
I don't
now.
actually know.
I'm on 5G.
Yeah, well, 5G's got a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, I live in Edinburgh now, and you can get 1,300 megabytes per second Wi-Fi. But my 5G works fine. It's not like I need that much because I've not got a super smart connected home.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Is there anything else that you want to talk about or say before we close down this?
No, I guess not. I guess a big part of what I'm doing is more just fun, and I enjoy doing it.
Yeah, this is something I forgot to ask you actually. What do you think's been drawing you to building stuff? Do you get satisfaction from the finished product, or is it the learning? Or you tell me.
It's a bit of both. Is more or less my way of looking things is, if I have a problem I want to solve, I don't want to just if I buy something, it might solve the problem, but it's not perfect. It's never perfect, if you can see what I'm saying. For example, like Windows, it's Windows has got loads of apps that are like useless to you because you'll never use them. So everyone uses Windows for something different, whereas I want my thing to be only what I want to use it for and no other rubbish. And I think that's what draws me a lot is the idea that's personalized to me and it solves all of my issues perfectly.
No, that's good. Oh, well, thank you for coming on. This is the third time we've tried this now.
Yeah,
Hopefully
hopefully
the
this one
footage is
saves.
all right. Yeah. Right. I'll say goodbye then. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you. Bye bye.